Okay, so my name is Max Helfrich, and today I'm going to talk about topic 2.2, organizational structure, learning through diagrams. So these are some of the most important terms from this unit that I will use in this short presentation. So on this slide, we see an organizational chart, which is usually referred to as a visual representation or a diagram of how a company intends authority, as well as showing the functions and departments of a company or a business and the people within them. Organizational charts are usually shaped like a triangle, which can be seen here, which is called a hierarchy also, since it has a clearly visible top, middle, and bottom layer. So based on the position of where employees find themselves within this hierarchy, this indicates their authority and their status within the company. So there are different levels of hierarchy. And the employees or the people at the top are the most important in the company, who usually have a greater responsibility in the business and therefore also paid higher salaries. The employees towards the bottom of the pyramid have a lower level of authority. So in other words, they have less power in the business. And therefore, as it can be seen based on the left arrow, the further we go up in the pyramid, the greater the responsibility and authority of the employees. And the right arrow pointing downward shows the chain of command, which demonstrates how information is communicated or how orders are passed down from senior management right at the top to operational workers, mostly at the bottom of the hierarchy. So orders are always communicated downwards along the channels. So the second chart here demonstrates an organization chart by function. Organization by function involves establishing the organizational structure according to business functions such as production, marketing, finance, or administration, for example. And this is one of the most common forms of organizational structure in which managers of different functional areas, which are here also referred to as directors, they report that to the respective director or vice president right at the top of the hierarchy, who holds the overall responsibility for all the different departments or divisions. On the next slide, we can see two different organizational structures. On the top, there is a business with a very flat hierarchy, and at the bottom, a business with a tall hierarchy and more levels of authority. So here the span of control is important. This refers to the number of people that each manager is directly responsible for. A small span of control means that a manager only looks after a small group of staff, whereas a large span of control means that a manager looks for a large group of employees. As it can be seen at the top, a flat hierarchy or a flat organization will usually have a high span of control, since the managers are responsible for a higher or a bigger group of people. Whereas at the bottom, in a tall hierarchy, they will have a much lower span of control, since each managers are responsible only for a certain department. The next slide shows a diagram for a centralized organization. In centralized organizations, the importance of subordinates is reduced, while the importance of senior executives is increased. So the majority of decision making is in the hands of a very small number of people at the top of the hierarchical structure. And as it can be seen here in the center, there are the managing directors, or even maybe just one managing director that has the authority to make decisions about all these factors, about marketing, about sales, production, or finance. The following diagram, on the other hand, shows a flat organization or a circular diagram, which refers to an organizational structure with few or no levels of management between management and staff level employees. And the flat organization supervises employees less while promoting their increased involvement in the decision-making process, which can be seen here that it is almost like a circle in which employees are involved in the decision-making process for all those departments, for sales, production, R&D, finance, and marketing. All right, the next diagram shows a collaborative organization in which the objectives and values of employees and management are aligned, which is demonstrated here by the overlaps of all the different factors or departments. Decision-making is more decentralized than it is in most current organizations, and more stakeholders in the organization play a role in defining the direction in which the organization moves, and hierarchical structures are kept to a minimum. So this type of organization is based on decentralization, which refers to organizational structures which include the delegation of decision-making authority throughout an organization away from central authority. So in this diagram, we can see organization by function and organization by region. So as it can be seen at the top here, organization by region refers to establishing the organizational structure according to different geographical areas, such as having vice presidents, for example, in America, in the US, and vice presidents for the European operations. This type of organization is usually suitable for a business that is located in several different geographical regions within a country or even around the world. Typically, operations are managed and overseen by a regional director. On the other hand, we can also see organization by function, which involves establishing the organizational structure according to business functions, such as accounting, marketing, operations, and human resource management or human resources. This is the most common form of organizational structure, and managers of different functional areas report to the respective director or vice president, who is, however, also divided here according to the geographical area of a business. On this slide, we see the divisional organizational structure, which organizes activities of a business around geographical market or product groups. In this case, it is product groups. Each product has a vice president for each different department, such as marketing, finance, or engineering, for example. And this approach would be extremely useful when decision-making should be clustered at the division level in order to react more quickly to, for instance, local conditions or problems. So on the following page is the so-called sample matrix organizational structure, or also called a project-based organization. This refers to the organization of human resources around specific projects that need to be completed. Using flexible project teams involves the temporary use of the most suitable employees from different departments for a particular project. So matrix structures are oftentimes popular to organize highly skilled and experienced staff, which can be seen here since employees are placed on the matrix based on their experience and position in the department of a certain product, maybe, such as, for example, design, finance, or marketing. Such an organization can, however, have the difficulties or the problems of controlling team members from various departments in the project with conflicting interests and priorities. And lastly, we see the so-called Hendis-Shamrock organization, which is the theory by Shamrock, arguing that organizations face continual change and therefore need to adapt accordingly. The changing organization comprises of three different leaves or types of workers, which can be seen here. First are the core workers, which consist of full-time experienced staff needed for the organization's operations and its general survival. On the left, there is the contractual fringe, which are individuals that a business hires on a contract basis to do specific tasks, such as an advertising campaign, for example. And lastly, there is the type of flexible workforce, which refers to the peripheral workers, such as, for example, flexi-time workers employed on a short-term basis only. This model overall emphasizes the growing practice of outsourcing non-essential activities, as well as the recognition of flexible working practices. This might shape the thinking behind present-day organizational structures in many business organizations around the world. And can generally help them in guiding them towards which types of employees a company could employ and how an organization could look like. And these are the sources from which the images come from, or the diagrams. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something.